Hello everyone, I'm Hassan Yumar from Integrated BIM, and I would really love to present you this BIM talk. Today's guest is Cliff Cole, and we will be just in a second jumping into the agenda and amazing topics that we are going to discuss today. So today's agenda is about building a BIM department from ground up, from zero. And then we will be discussing about mindset and skills and how this plays a significant role when it comes to BIM. Then we will be talking about mentorship and how this mentorship, it plays a significant role when you want to guide people and really motivate them to push forward in the BIM environment. And then we will be going into sharing how methods and techniques for sharing information and educating peers, today and future of BIM, and then learn lessons, do's and don'ts. Obviously, one of the most important thing is that Q&A, because you don't really have a lot of options when it comes to consulting and ask questions to the specific people in the BIM industry who has lots of experience. So you need to stick until the end, and in the meantime, ask all the questions you have, and we'll be happy to answer all of them as we go along. But at the end, specifically, we will have about 10 minutes or so answering all your questions regarding BIM and all the topics that we are talking today. So you can, if you are not watching it live, you can just leave your comments below. We'll make sure that we get back to you with those answers. So I would like to introduce you to Cliff. So he is working he's a VDC Director, and he's working in the Penta building group. So embracing challenges, and he has been embracing challenges with the ethnicity and had difficult moments, but he didn't leave everything, and he just pushed forward, and he really made it for over 16 years now, working with his company and get to the director level. And then he's mentoring students, motivating them, moving towards BIM direction. And obviously he also got a certificate for diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workspace. So more about him. We love this quote, we don't fail, we learn. That's correct. It's all about continuous learning and continuous improvements. So which he made this quote in the publication by Todd Wendt, actually this year in April. So it's also about he has so much technical skills. So he has passed through those traditional workflows of AutoCAD and so forth, but using Revit, Navisworks, and all this Autodesk Construction Cloud and so forth. Another important quote by Cliff is the importance of diversity and inclusion in construction is paramount. And now I would like to showcase you that his kind of a work experience, being a BIM manager, like over for 10 years, and now for the last 2 years, having a director role in the company. So let me introduce you to Cliff. So welcome, Cliff. How are you?
Doing good, Son. How are you doing today? Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
I'm really excited. I'm really well, and I would like to discuss these amazing topics with you. So it will be really great to educate the industry, share information, share knowledge, so we can grow together. So can you give a little bit more introduction about yourself, more than what I actually just did?
Well, yeah, you did a great job of introducing me, so I can add a little bit to that. As mentioned, my name is Cliff Cole. I've been most people call me Cliff. I've been in the industry construction for about 18 years. I have an architectural engineering degree from North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University. And I've been in Las Vegas for about 16 years working for the Penta Building Group. I started out as a project engineer for about 4 or 5 years, and then made the transition to BIM. At the time, there was not a initiative within our company, and I was fortunate enough to be able to help spearhead that effort and help grow our department today, which is actually the Virtual Design and Construction Department, and we are now, I think we're 6 or 7 employees within the department. So it's exciting to see the growth from where we started to where we are today.
Wow, that's interesting. And I know that you build the BIM thing in the company from ground up, from zero. So can you tell us a little bit about that, how you started, what kind of challenges you face, and where you are at this point with the BIM in the company?
Yeah, the biggest challenge was I had no clue what I was doing when I first started. It was, I mean, I was just, BIM was almost a foreign term to me. But I had to, I saw the potential of what it could be. So I had to educate myself. To overcome those challenges, it was a lot of work, a lot of studying, education. It first started out with just, um, you know, figuring out how to learn Revit. And then it started with nights and weekends of, books and just, trying to self-train myself to learn the software. And over time, I got more comfortable with it. And then what really kind of made it, I would feel it grow was understanding how I could take that knowledge of the software and implement into my day-to-day job to provide value to the product that I was working on. And then from there, sharing that knowledge or sharing the successes that we had with our entire product team, with our internal team and our trade partners. And that really helped kind of catapult our BIM efforts to the next level when people saw the value of why we're doing this new thing. Change is tough for people, and so you have to make sure you're communicating to them in a way that they understand why we're doing something different. So it's definitely been an exciting challenge, and the growth has been tremendous over the past 10 to 12 years, to where we now use it on a majority, BIM on the majority of our projects. We have expanded our capabilities. The software has evolved, skill sets have evolved throughout the company. More of our trade partners are understanding how the value of it. More of our clients are understanding the value of it, and it does make it a little bit easier to help implement that onto products to provide that value to the teams.
And do you practice in more public projects or private projects where the company focuses more on? And what kind of scale maybe we are talking about?
Yeah, we do. I would say we do more private projects than public. We do some public projects, and we do a range of projects. We anywhere what we call in our special project division, small, $100,000 projects, to let's say, we've done. I think the biggest one we're doing right now is upwards of $600 million, and they all scale the exact same way as far as implementing it into the project. First and foremost, you understanding what you're trying to accomplish, the scope of work, and then figuring out where your pain points are going to be at for the project team, and then showing them the value of bringing in models to help, whether it's planning, visualization, quantity takeoffs, utilizing all of those capabilities and utilizing the model for that has been tremendous.
Yeah, it's very well said because, as you said, it's like pain points, right? So you're just specifically focusing on the pain points of the client, of the project, of the stakeholders, and you're embracing them and you're motivating them to pull together into the project. And I think you are the core member, core person in the company who makes these kind of movement. So can you talk me, explain us a little bit about the mindset and skills that are needed to accommodate and to make this kind of push?
Yeah, it's when I first started, I didn't necessarily have the right mindset. I think I had to grow, into a position to where I was comfortable not knowing what I didn't know, and being confident enough to be able to stand in front of a team and present something that I've never really tried before, or tried on a project, with any level of success. It's one thing to kind of be in the back, just trying to do research and figure it out on your own. But when you actually have to use it on a project and people are depending on your skill sets and your knowledge to be successful, it is a little intimidating at first. But I think over time, you just, at least for me personally, I've learned to just plan accordingly, and make sure you're communicating effectively to where you're at. Be a little bit transparent. Also let them know that that you don't know all the answers, and as a team, we got to collectively work through anything that may come up. From that standpoint, it's been a great shift, and the mindset for me has been It's been a tremendous growth over my career. Having to be able to work with other people and engaging in conversations to have them and have them help you, see what their vision is. You can kind of develop your own vision to change your mindset. Then be comfortable enough and confident enough to stand in front of the product teams to be able to communicate what you're trying to accomplish when it's really new and an innovative thing that you haven't really done before. And that's a little intimidating at times because they're depending on you to be provide you with the knowledge to be successful. But over the years, it's been great to be able to see the camaraderie that I've had with my product team members and with my fellow employees
Absolutely.
and other people in the industry to help keep pushing BIM to the next level.
Absolutely. When it comes to BIM, it's always that. So it's always you didn't do this before. So you're doing it for the first time all the time. Obviously, until things settle down. But most of the time, especially at the beginning, and I would say most of the time, actually, even though you proceed forward, there are new standards coming in, which you didn't do things for in that way, and you're doing it for the first time. There are different issues coming up, and you will need to solve it for the first time. So you need to have a little also entrepreneurship skills, I presume. So a little business and entrepreneurship skills because you want to add value to the industry. So in order to add in value as a BIM manager or VDC manager or VDC director, you need to think in a different way, a way where you want to bring new benefits to the entire stakeholder. So not only for your company but everyone, and that is one of the major skills that we are needing. So can you talk a little bit about the mentorship? So how important it is when it comes to BIM, how important to mentor and coach and educate other people. It's not necessarily only students but peers and everyone. So can you say how you're playing a role into that and how important you think it is?
Mentorship, in my mind, is absolutely critical to the evolution of our industry. And me personally, I've been fortunate enough to have some great mentors in my life and in my career as well to help me get to where I am today. So for me, it's imperative that I provide that same support, encouragement, and push to other people coming up. And mentorship is not always from people that have the same skill set as you or even trying to accomplish the same thing. I've learned from so many different people, younger, older, people that are in the trades in the field that don't have no clue what I do, and I don't really understand how they do their job. I think there's a combination of all that to help us progress and move the industry forward. Specifically related to BIM and how we do inside the VDC department, in my mind, it's critical for us to continue to develop the pipeline because BIM, in my mind, is still a new thing. It's still something we're all still trying to figure out. So for us, trying to develop like our internship program within our department to make sure that we have the college students coming in and understanding how we are implementing BIM and VDC into our company, something that they may not be learning in school because that's just not in their curriculum. I think that's critical in mentoring them, whether they are in our summer program or not in the summer program. I feel like I've made a lot of great connections with a lot of great people that I still stay in contact with over the years that don't work for the company anymore. And leveraging those relationships and developing mentorship for them has been tremendous. And for me, as we are struggling with the labor shortage, educating, students at the high school level and even in the middle school level and getting them excited about the construction industry and so many things that they may not know that happens in the construction industry and so many paths they can take that they may not see or hear about. So exposing them to that, when they're young and getting excited. And I think, a couple of times I've gone to schools and talked to kids and showed them that, hey, I work with drones and robotic total stations and 3D models, and they thought, maybe I was like a plumber or a carpenter or something like that. And their eyes light up and they're engaged, and you can see the excitement in what they could potentially become. So for me, it's just absolutely critical to continue to keep mentoring the younger generation, but also everybody that, especially from our role with VDC, mentoring everybody in our company to help, again, continue pushing them.
I think what you said is very true, and especially when it comes to mentorship and educating people and coaching people. There's one saying, right? And there's also, I think, research on that. If you want to learn something, you need to teach it. So the more you teach, the more you learn, because there are so many questions coming through different people because of different backgrounds, regardless they are student or not. So because they have different backgrounds, different understanding of the topics, they will ask certain questions that you never thought about it. And the more you repeat yourself, you're actually questioning certain things, and then you're researching on those stuff and you're learning more and more. So that's absolutely like the right way. So I have been also training for like industry for many years now. So that's how we keep growing and learning. At the same time, what you nailed is really also true. We need resources in the industry. So the more you educate colleagues, peers, students, the more resources, the faster we can push the construction industry forward with innovation and technology. So now when we talk about mentorship, we also talk about sharing skills, right? How we share stuff. So what kind of methods and techniques have you been developing for the recent years regarding sharing? How do you share information efficiently? I'm not talking about only BIM, like a model related information, but also knowledge and techniques that you have been developing, certain skill sets, how you're sharing those between the peers and with the industry.
Yeah, so it mentioned that I've had the fortunate to be, kind of starting my early in BIM 10, 12 years ago. And over the years, I've just came and been introduced to so many wonderful people. So those relationships that I've built over the years, I've just really maintained. And so, I'm able to be a part of different peer groups, structured and unstructured peer groups, where I can connect with people across the country and the world, and to be able to talk about some of our shared pains that we all have. I was just on a call yesterday with another contractor, and they were asking questions about some of the stuff that we were working on. And as she was talking through some of the problems that they're running into, it just brought back memories of all the things that I was struggling through. So we could easily relate to each other. But being open to sharing all of that information. I mean, our department would not be where it was to be at today if I didn't have the resources and the connections that I've made over the years to go to a conference or be a part of a podcast like this and meet people that are trying to accomplish the exact same thing. And we're putting our minds together and exchanging ideas and debating topics and just it's challenging you to think differently and think strategically. Also understanding not just focusing on let's say BIM or technology, but the business as a whole, right? How do we integrate with as a contractor? How do we integrate with the design team? How do we integrate with our trade partners? Sharing those ideas, as you said earlier, like how to get everybody engaged and looking at it from a bigger picture. It's been that those shared points that's the catalyst to push that has pushed us to where we are today.
Absolutely correct. And one of the main reasons that we are sharing, also making these BIM talks, because we want to really push the industry forward. So we are trying to bring different expertise on board, like you, like other guests we had before. So if you already didn't subscribe, find a moment and subscribe to our channel, because every week on Thursday we have a live BIM talk. So you shouldn't miss those, because you are not tend to meet experts like Cliff Cole every single day. So from time to time, when you have a chance to meet and listen their point of view, listen their expertise, listen their path, it's a great opportunity, for you to meet this kind of expert. So find a moment, just smash the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. So let's discuss a little bit about where the BIM is today and how the BIM is moving for the future. So what do you think from your point of view? Where do you think that we are having right now BIM? Is it in the peak, or is it still a lot of progress? It should progress a lot. We see that there are so many startup companies, right? So many things, so many software products are every day rising up, and now we have international standards and so forth. So I just want to get your point of view on that.
Yeah, I think we're still we're still trending up as far as BIM and how it's being implemented. I think the advancement of technology is going to continue to push, which I was just talking to a colleague yesterday. I mean, 5 years ago, I would never have guessed where we would be today. So I can only imagine where we're going to be 5 years from now. And as more people get proficient with the technology, as hardware and software get better, as we figure out how to integrate this into our business, how we can get clients to understand the value of it and change some of their processes or contract language and how to engage in communicating and collaborating through technology via the future is great. As we get more skill sets, I learn something new every single day. That's probably one of the best things about my job. I think sometimes we have like interns come in and you're like, oh, you've been in the industry for a long time, you probably have it all figured out. I'm like, not even close. Like I'm constantly learning something new every day, and that is probably one of the most exciting things about my job. But I look at the evolution of how we're utilizing data to make business decisions and how that information can come from the model as something that is going to definitely be continue to push in the industry. As I mentioned before, robotics is just something I think that is going to continue to grow, and we're going to see push the evolution of like generative design and be able to streamline the design process a little bit more. All those items are things I think are trending in the industry, and it excites me to see as more people get engaged in it and how we can utilize it together. And again, going back to what you mentioned earlier, sharing that information. We have so many smart and talented people in this industry, and if we can share these ideas, we'll just continue to keep pushing and keep evolving.
Absolutely. And one of the things that, again, when we talk about, today and the future, there's so many different products are coming in, and we're really glad to see all these products, softwares, and, standards. But I just want to also dive deeper into one topic over here. For today, when we talk about today, what about what are we lacking? Obviously, we can imagine what can happen in the future. We definitely don't know exactly how it will evolve. But for today, what do you think we are really lacking when it comes to BIM?
I can talk about at least in the States here. I feel like we lack a standards, common standards that everybody is working toward. We work in different regions of the country, and in some regions they are more sophisticated and more knowledgeable about BIM than others. And so we have to adjust how we work on certain projects. Like you mentioned earlier, where we do some mostly private, but we do some public. Some public is more apt to having standardization and laying out their expectations early and understanding what those expectations mean. Some of our private clients don't know what that means, so we have to educate them or show them how we're bringing value, and and how we might have to adjust our processes and how we traditionally have done it. So that's my biggest thing right now. I think is that standardization and how our contracts are set up to that they don't facilitate communication and collaboration amongst the product team. And so if we can work through those things, I think that will also help bring the evolution forward on BIM and technology and BDC.
And actually, in the meantime, I was reading comments, and obviously there were there are a few people who are mentioning SCORE, DX, and ArchiCAD tutorials. They were saying it's really true that sharing is caring. So the more we share, the more we teach the industry, the more we are pushing forward and helping each other. So absolutely, that's why, again, you are watching here and we are here on the other side trying to share as much as possible. So when it comes to future, what do you think will happen? How do you think it will evolve? Obviously, pandemics change things radically, like with just one pandemic hit and everything changed, like our life changed and so forth. When it comes to BIM, do you think that it will be like a kind of a very significant shift in the future, or it will be slowly grow and evolve as we go in the industry?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you, but what I can tell you is what I've seen is that the pandemic definitely has pushed things faster than I think anybody has thought, at least not in my world. I'm busier now than I ever thought I would be coming out of the pandemic, but even in through the pandemic. But before, we had the mindset that we always had to be on the job site, or we had to have everybody in the same location. And then we had to pivot real fast and to go and do virtual world and do virtual meetings and stuff like that. And honestly, it for our company, it almost was seamless that it just kind of worked. So I think it has shown that we can do things differently, and we should probably do things differently to be more efficient. Now again, that change I think is tough for people. So we have to continue to work through it. So for that standpoint, I think it will be slow, because that's just challenging. But for me, I think that if we've shown that we can do things differently, and so I think we've got to continue to fall back on that and then push forward to keep moving forward where we're at with them.
Absolutely. And like you said, I mean, the pandemic process was a little tough for all of us in the beginning. Like things were closed down. We weren't expecting. We were, some part of the industry was a little negative on that aspect. But if we look at today, we are busier than ever. That's correct. And when it comes to the career and lessons learned, so let's discuss. And then after that, we will be discussing do's and don'ts, because I think these are like one of the, and then we will go to the Q&A session. But one of the most significant thing is like do's and don'ts, so don't miss that. Let's discuss a little bit of lessons learned. When you started the BIM from the ground up, what kind of lessons you really learned, and how such a shift in your career played a significant role for you today?
Well, lessons learned, there's a lot of them. So I think the couple of things I do want to mention first that I think that would help me tremendously was, at least for me personally, I got buy-in from our senior leaders. They pushed for it. They actually set the initiative themselves, and I kind of just took it and followed through on it. So that helped me so tremendously from starting the department from scratch. As far as the other thing I think that really helped me is, beyond learning the software and be educated in that, is finding some champions, right? I wasn't, the lone person just saying, hey, we should do BIM on these projects. And, I found a couple of key team members that saw the value too as well, and were engaged in the process when we were going through it. And that helped us tremendously to be able to grow. We've also looked at it from a perspective of we try to integrate it throughout our entire business. So we worked we are currently our VDC department is under our pre-construction department. And so we work heavily with our pre-construction team, work heavily with our operations team, and now we're shifting and working more with our safety and quality teams as well. So for our success has been to really focus on the lesson learned with me was focused really on the business side. Integrate into our processes that we have, and identifying the pain points. People love to talk about the struggles and pains they have, and if you can solve that through BIM or other innovative solutions, that has helped us progress our BIM initiative moving forward. The other big lesson learned I learned is be comfortable not knowing everything. You don't have to be the expert at everything. There's so many talented people out there. That's why you want to assemble a team of people that have very unique and different skill sets. So currently, like in our department, I think we have architects, we have engineers, we have contractors. Even so this summer, to diversify our team and bring different perspectives, we actually brought in 2 graphic designers to see how they can, integrate into our team and provide different thought processes. So that has been a tremendous success, I feel, for us, and has helped us grow. So that's something I would say definitely is a big lesson learned. And the other thing, as we mentioned earlier, I think you said the quote was, "We don't fail, we learn." Fail often, but fail early, right? Is a
Yeah,
lesson
that's correct.
learned. Trying to find perfection has actually been a negative from what
That's
I've
correct.
seen. So just almost having agile methodology and iterating through processes has been something that we've had to adapt, which has been tremendous success for us.
Absolutely, and I think I was just start from the last one. When you say fail faster, that's true. The faster you fail, the faster you find the right path. Because the more fail, obviously don't just fail randomly. I mean, to your best. But if you fail, try to get the lessons from it, and then push forward with new innovation, new ideas, new techniques until you nail it. So that's really important. But I would like to also highlight and back up a few other things. You said BIM champion. That's true. Depends obviously the company size you're having and organization. If you're a smaller organization, let's say very small team, you might not have a BIM manager and BIM champion at the same time. But if there's a BIM manager, it should be the BIM champion, because that person should motivate and push everything and lead everything. So encourage everyone. If you have new colleagues coming in, should work closely with that BIM champion and BIM manager. And then as you go along, obviously, if you hire more modelers and so forth, then you can split different departments and different categories of role set. And one last thing you said is very true. Like you said that hiring a graphic designer, hiring someone who can actually represent all this workflow in a more intuitive way, in a more informative way. So you can literally consume all this information, all this complicated information as easy as possible. I think that is also just a huge do, I would say. So let's move on towards do's and don'ts. What kind of do's and don'ts you think we have to pay attention when it comes to BIM implementation and or working with BIM?
A do for me is understanding the value proposition. We always say, ask the why. Why are you doing something? And so that way it helps you better to understand how to be able to implement it. A don't is don't just jump in and not have an idea or at least a plan. Right? It's okay to fail quickly, but at least have a plan going into it so you have a chance to be successful. Don't try to do everything at once. Don't try to take on too much. Small wins. As we say, with a baseball term, singles can win you a game. Don't always try to hit for the home run. That's something that we've had to find where we've taken on too much, and we haven't produced the quality that we want. A do is always try to communicate your value and your expectation to your teams. Make sure you're on the same page. And if you have to, and communication comes to my mind in 4 different formats. And for us, what's always been most successful is visually communicating it. So you can visually communicate what you're trying to accomplish. As this old saying is, pictures worth 1,000 words, is definitely better and easier to communicate and get on the same page if you can visualize what you're trying to accomplish. So that's another do. And again, I think the biggest don't for me is don't assume you have to know everything. And don't assume that you have to be the only one. So if you're trying to start a department from scratch, gain as many resources as you possibly can. Those can come in every different way. So that's been a tremendous help for us. Just having so many different resources to tap to help continue the growth of the BIM department. The other do I would say is do diversify your thought process. Thinking, as I said, the mindset and thinking differently have been tremendous help for me, and not just having the traditional way of doing things. And this is how we've always done it as a negative in my book, because you can't evolve thinking the same way all the time. You have to think outside the box. And we always say you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable thinking like that, because you might be the only person thinking that way. So you have to be comfortable and confident when you do that. So I would say those are probably my biggest do's and don'ts, especially when you're implementing them from the start.
I think these are just great advice. I mean, if you really, if after watching this video, I will really stop and rewatch these points again, because you just nailed everything. You said value proposition. You said how you always think about constructively, and criticize yourself to think what kind of value you're bringing to the table. That is that is a primary thing. If you always focus on value, you start thinking in a different way. So you just start becoming a lot more selfish on the organization. You start understanding different levels of values. You understand the value at the business level, value of the departmental level, value on the project level, value on the stakeholder. Like there, I can go and on because that's the most important thing. The other advices were just spot on. So in the meantime, I will be just asking, like if there are any questions, because I didn't receive any questions yet on the chat. I'm just constantly checking it. So if there are any questions, just please shoot them out, because we will start answering them in a second. So before we move on to questions, would you like to add anything else apart from our agenda? Do you want to say something else?
Yeah, I think you mentioned earlier I got a certificate in diversity and inclusion. And I think that's a critical thing that is being talked about more in the industry. And I think it is important, paramount that we look at diversity and inclusion because when I first started VDC, it was figuring out how to get included in conversations and how to get included in discussions to figure out how to implement BIM, and having a different thought process at first was tough. So being able to understand and being able to push the value of diversity and inclusion from a diversity of thought, I think is critical. But then also, obviously, as we bring in new talent from other industries, new talent from to be able to continue to push the bar is things for where we're going with them, where we're going with BDC, where we're going with technology. We have to be able to diversify our industry more to be successful and continue this evolution. So I encourage everybody to get educated on it, because it was at first, it was very intriguing to me, and then when I got into it, I realized how much I did not know about diversity and inclusion, and so that's why I took the certificate. So it was a tremendous experience. I learned a lot, was engaged, and challenged to think differently as well, which I like doing that, and it just helps grow in us and push the envelope on BIM technology, especially as we continue to write the book on how this is implemented into our industry.
Okay, so there's one question over here, which is, do you think how important dimension in BIM is time? So I presume this can be taken in two ways. So where one of them is like when it comes to 4D, the BIM dimension for time, how important it is, and the other, I presume it can be like implementation, or when you use BIM in your company, when you start implementing BIM, what about the time? How important the time factor is? So we can actually answer both, I think.
So when at least in construction, from scheduling is one of the most important things. Our clients always are schedule focused, obviously, quality, cost, and other aspects of that. The traditional, Gantt charts don't always communicate to our clients how we're going to achieve that. So we don't necessarily do 4D that we're tied the schedule to it all the time. We do more sequence, high-level work breakdown structures to kind of show them the phasing sequence. And I think that is a critical aspect of that on a project that we do for most of our projects in the pre-construction phase. So I think that is critical from that standpoint for 4D. To answer the other question, time is challenging. It's very tough to quantify time of something you've never done before. And I think almost every single time we are always off or fall short. So we have a thing now where we say, okay, if you estimate how much time you think it's going to do if you've never done it before, and then triple it. That's how much time it actually may take. And so you just have to. That's why I think taking things in smaller chunks is a good process. Or figuring out how to iterate the process to be able to achieve what you're trying to achieve. So when we're learning software, for me, it's we say, okay, it's going to take us 2 years to get there from scratch, right? And everybody's like, wow, it's a lot of time. I'm like, just from my experience, we can learn software within 3 months, right? If we're starting from scratch. But if you're trying to figure out how to implement it into a company, you're trying to get people trained, all these aspects that you got to take into consideration. Those are usually the unknown, especially when you're dealing with people, because you don't know how they're going to react to what you're presenting to them. So my suggestion for time is always, overestimate how much time you think it is, because we've found that we just never hit the deadlines that we thought we hit when trying to implement new technology and software.
I mean, this is very, your advice and your point is straightforward. And I always give this example. I watched one video, I think it was from TED Talks, and there was explaining about how you can learn anything within 20 hours. So just 20 hours, you can learn how to play guitar. With 20 hours, you can learn certain things. Obviously, you're not learning as an expert level, of course, but for example, with guitar, you have certain rhythms. You can like repeat that rhythm within one song. And he was explaining how you can just repeat that song and learn within 20 hours, the same rhythm, and play the entire song. So the point was over here is this. So the learning curve is so fast in the beginning, like you learn a lot within the 20 hours. But when you want to be guitar expert, when you want to be like really, really good on it, it just goes on and on. That's what we are talking, right? So this time, you never know. So if you want to be a great football player, you need to spend a lot of time, but how long it will take you to learn how to play football? It's quick, right? So that is the thing. So if you want to be greater and better, the learning curve is very, like not steep, but very little inclination there. So you need to practice a lot. That's why you practice 2, 3, 5, 10 years and you're still learning. We're still learning today. When you use open something, you always have issues, or you want to learn something because you never taught in that way. So there's also one more question here from the Archicad tutorials. So it is about BIM in interior design. From your end, from your point of view, what's your experience BIM with interior design?
Great question. I don't have my background's not in interior design. I don't have much experience, but what I can tell you from my perspective of how we do engage with interior designers in BIM is for me, it goes back to a picture's worth 1,000 words. When we're trying to, the interior designers have a vision of what they want the end product to look like, and as contractors, it's our job to help them bring that vision to fruition. But we don't think like interior designers, and I don't think interior designers don't think like contractors. So to help communicate the intent or what their vision is, being able to model those items or whatever we're trying to build is valuable, and then be able to collaborate, work together, and work through how we're going to build that space or that building, and get their input is critical. Usually in the past, what we've seen is where we get an interior design package, there's not much conversation happening between contractors and interior designers. And then when they come out, to do a punch walk or something, or look at the progress, they don't like it. They don't like how it looks. They don't like how it feels, right? Because they're now immersed in the real environment. So for me, what we've done is we've done virtual mock-ups, we've done animated renderings, we've done different things to help visualize, okay, this is what we're trying to accomplish, this is what you're seeing, understanding that, hey, the wall here is going to shift here because we have to put the door in a certain way, because we have to put it in the masonry, like little things like that they may not think about. When we're engaging with designers now and utilizing models, that conversation, that dialogue is happening a lot easier because we're able to visualize the final product.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that we are missing in the industry, and there's a misconception, the BIM is bringing all the stakeholders together, everyone into the process with more information by using technology. So when we talk about the BIM, there is definitely no limits for interior design at all. I mean, it's one of the main part of the entire process and project. So obviously interior design can kick in. So, but when it comes to the software, there are limitations. So if you use certain software, you can do so many things with interior design. So you need to understand the differences between the two, and you need to understand what value you're looking for. If you're looking for rendering, that is obviously a different aspect. You are presenting, you're doing more presentation, and you're selling your product. But if you're looking for collaboration, being a core part of the entire construction process, communicating information efficiently and so forth, and obviously you are making really most value out of the limitation of the software, and you're aware of this, I think it is significant to have interior designers in place and collaborating with them, because otherwise their design does not mean anything, because on site things change during the design process, things change, there are clashes, there are things happening, materials may not be able to ship on time, and then things might need to be finished, so some design changes might happen. There are many things, so it's all about bringing all the stakeholders together. That is why the industry is having hard time to understand what was the switch between paper by hand to CAD, and then from CAD to BIM. It's totally different when they switch from paper to hand, paper to mouse, like from the pen to mouse. What happened is that they just drop the pen on the left and they take the mouse. The process is the same, but when it comes to BIM, it's integrated. It's pulling everyone together, integrating the BIM and industry together. So thank you very much, Cliff. It was a lovely talk. I really appreciate that you're here today, and I think it brought a lot of value to the audience. So any final words?
Oh, no, thank you very much for having me. It was my pleasure. This was exciting. So hopefully everybody got something out of it and then they enjoyed the podcast.
It was lovely to talk with you. So if you would like to learn more about BIM and BIM Talks and any other BIM video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like this video. And we have all the videos either here or in the description below. So don't forget watching them.